Welcome to Fortress of Faith with Tom Wallace, calling North America to repentance and revival.
Welcome back once again to the Corner of Truth and Courage. You're listening to Fortress of Faith. This is Tom Wallace. Today we're going to be talking about Britain, how Britain is banning dissenting speech. Basically, any speech that is conservative, any speech that is, believe in national conservatism or Christian, is usually being treated as an illegal event. England is becoming more and more Muslim. They've been allowing more and more immigrants coming into the country, open borders, and that's largely why Britain removed itself from the EU, from the European Union. Crime from these immigrants that are coming in against the British citizens has been growing. Therefore, the nationals, the Brits, are becoming more unsettled with what their government is doing. And the government's cracking down with arresting the nationals, not necessarily charging them, but arresting them, stopping them from their free speech, removing them from the place that they're speaking, or making it look like if you do this again, we're going to come and arrest you again. If you post anything like this again, we're going to come after you. It's almost like the days of Hitler, banning free speech. Britain is beginning to feel like that. A terrible thing happened in Britain last summer. I think it was in July. We had 3 young little girls butchered by what was thought to be an immigrant and believed to be a Muslim teenager, 17 years of age, who took his knife and went into a dance hall and stabbed about 12 little girls. 3 of them died. And it brought a great uproar in the country. And some information wasn't correct at the very beginning. And actually, who kind of created some of that was Channel 3. I'm looking at the post that they put out there on Twitter, published by Channel 3 Now staff. I don't know who they are. But they said 17-year-old and named a name, arrested in connection with the stabbings of Southport, England. And it said there in the headlines, the name of this person was on the MI6 watch list and was known to the Liverpool Mental Health Services. He was an asylum seeker who came to the UK by a boat last year. Now, it turns out that was not the villain. That was not the person. He may have been arrested but released. The actual killer was a 17-year-old named Axel Ruda Cabana. His parents were immigrants, and he was born in the UK. Early, it was thought that he was a Christian, but word was out that he was a Muslim. And so if you shared anything online that this was a Muslim attack, a terrorist attack, then you were spreading disinformation. If he was an asylum seeker, you were spreading disinformation. And so they started arresting people who were posting online information that they were hearing. And they were using an act that was passed in 2023, the False Communications Offense Act. Let me read it to you. It criminalizes the act of knowingly sending a message containing false information with the intent to cause non-trivial psychological or physical harm to the recipient, providing that the sender had no reasonable excuse for doing so, essentially making it illegal to spread deliberately false information. They arrested a 55-year-old lady. Her name was Bernadette Spofford. They arrested others, from what I understand. Others were arrested. But this one got in the news. She made sure that what they did was being reported. Well, they later released her, and apparently without any charges. However, her life has been turned upside down because of the arrest. What do they want to do? They want to send a message. the rest of you, don't you dare share anything that he was a Muslim, that he was an asylum seeker, a refugee. We're going to call all of that disinformation. Here's what we did learn. Although he was not an asylum seeker, he did come from a first-generation immigrant family, and that the attacker was actually a Muslim with Al-Qaeda training, and he was making ricin in his home to conduct a chemical attack on the British people. And what's even worse, senior government figures knew about this, that he was actually a Muslim, but they sat on it. They did not inform. They withheld that information. The government withheld information and was threatening arrest to others if they spoke about that, even though the government knew. Now, they finally admitted that, yes, he was a Muslim. He had Al-Qaeda training, and he was making ricin and was attempting a larger attack on the British people, a Muslim terrorist attack. Well, there were riots in the streets because the people did not believe their government already. And the government's action on it has been two-tier. The Muslims can do stuff and riot in the streets and do all their stuff, but the police do nothing. The police largely look the other way. There have been Muslim rape gangs going on in the country, and for years, the police look the other way. And the people are upset. They're upset with their government, and they have every right to be upset because a double standard has been made. They are arresting Christians. There are Christian preachers that go to the streets. A famous place is Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, there in London. And it's been known as the location of free speech for years and years and years. And yet Christians are regularly abused there by Muslims. They are hit and attacked, punched. Hutan Tash is a former Muslim. She's in her 20s, I think. She is an immigrant from Turkey. She used to be a Muslim, but came to realize it was a false religion and became a Christian, and has become a great speaker and on the subject of Islam and its faults and its false teaching and the Prophet and the Quran. And she goes to Speaker's Corner. She's been stabbed. And even though this is all on camera, we've seen this, no arrests have been made. Now, they did capture someone who was planning, I don't know if this was a sting operation, but he was arrested by the police. He spent £5,000 to buy a gun and bullets to go and shoot her and kill her. He was arrested. But she's been assaulted on the streets there in Hyde Park and at Speaker's Corner, and no arrests have been made. But you know what they did here just recently? They arrested her. She was assaulted, and they were stealing her equipment, her camera, and she ran after to try to grab her, her property back. And the Muslims make a false charge against her, and she gets arrested and frog marched out at the cheering of the Muslims. I know personal friends, missionary friends of mine, Art Cunningham and Brother Abrams in Birmingham, England, which, by the way, Birmingham, England is over. Let me get back up here. Birmingham, England is 22% now Muslim. That's the second largest city in England. London, the largest, of course, 12% Muslim. Birmingham's 22%. Manchester's 15%, the third largest. The largest populated city is Bradford at 26%. Leicester, just down the road from where I used to live, is now 20% Muslim. And they arrest people like Tommy Robinson, who's been trying to speak against the invasion of Islam and Muslims and the crime that's coming with it there. He's not always gone about it in the right way, but the very fact is, though, is that they shut down his speech, they arrest him, and it sends a message to the people. Don't speak out against Islam. You get arrested here. Don't post anything online. You're going to get arrested here. And our friend Hutan, she got arrested. Now, thankfully, she prosecuted the police and just won a £10,000 award against the police for her false arrest. More of that needs to happen in order to teach the country you cannot be doing this. And I hope that Bernadette Spofford sues the country for her false arrest and stuff. But, anything that deals with Islam is treated with, soft gloves, bubble wrapped and everything else. I remember when the Danish cartoons came out. The Danish cartoons, if you look at the cartoons that they printed, they did that as an exercise to say, we here in Denmark value free speech. We should never be bullied by anyone or a religion to say we cannot have the right to speak out. And the editor called for people to send in drawings, and they were going to publish them. And the drawings were benign. Nothing in that was incendiary. But the way that the Muslims wanted to treat it, they treated it as if they had killed the prophet themselves with their stuff. Riots broke out throughout Europe. I remember that. And I watched the British police do nothing. They had signs up, behead those who insult the prophet, punish those who insult Islam, wage war, massacre, all these kinds of things were out there, jihad against the Crusaders and all this stuff there. They were calling for murder. They were calling for beheadings. They were calling for massacres. And the police did nothing. No wonder people like Tommy Robinson and the average citizen now is upset. And this last round in the summer of the killing of these 3 little girls and others being knifed by this Islamic terrorist while they were at a dance hall. No wonder people are upset. And you weren't allowed to say this was a Muslim jihadi attack. And they arrested hundreds and hundreds of British people who spoke out and went to the streets to protest. Now, some of it was not right. I get that. They committed crimes, and that's not right. But they're angering the people. But speech against about Muslims and about the immigrants is getting treated as a crime. And that's only going to add more problems to the Brits. Wake up, America. These days are coming our way if we don't stand for our free speech. It's up in Canada already. Well, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for joining us today at the Corner of Truth and Courage. Now go out and be salt and light.